How's it going, guys? My name is Stone, and welcome to these reviews, or welcome back if it ain't your first time here. Today, I'm going to be ranking the songs off of Bob Dylan's second double album, Self Portrait, released in 1970. This was famously panned by critics and fans alike for not being up to par with the rest of the material Dylan was releasing in the 60s. The motives behind Self Portrait have been subject to wild speculation and great debate, with some sources saying that he intended to release an album, quote, loaded with crap in order to end that spokesman of a generation label that critics had been putting on him over the years. Other sources claim that he wanted to release these tracks on an official release due to the fact that people were bootlegging these songs at much worse quality. But overall, I think it's evident that Bob intended for this album to be something of a joke. And while I agree that most of these tracks are pretty unusual coming from Dylan, and the album's progression itself is jarring, I find that a lot of the material on here to be very accessible and just a lot of fun to listen to. Definitely difficult to listen to from beginning to end, but when you make the time, maybe listen to a side or two, there's some really good stuff to be found. I love the fact that it was tended to be just a bunch of crap thrown together, yet it's still able to have a messy yet consistent attitude throughout the entire track listing. Definitely a unique release by Bob Dylan, regardless of however you may feel about it. Now, from what I understand, the tracks on this album can be separated into three distinct parts. The first being songs from the Nashville Skyline sessions, the second being songs from the New Morning sessions, which I know New Morning would come out after this release, and the other four tracks coming from the soundboard-sourced live performance of Dylan and the band's Isle of Wight festival concert. Now, I rank these songs not only by how much I enjoy them on their own, but how they fit on the album, and particularly on the side of music they're featured on. Now, before going into this ranking, I will give you my ranking of my least favorite sides to my favorite sides, just to give you a bit of an idea of what I have up top and what I have on the bottom. Now, to go from favorite to least favorite, actually, my favorite side, if I had to choose one, is definitely side two. I just think each each side has 6 songs, so I think these 6 songs really pair well together. After that, I have side one. Even though side one probably has the best progression overall, I just like the tracks in side two just a little more. And following that, side three and number three, and then I think it's obvious for most people that side four is definitely a step down compared to the first 3 sides. If you even like the first 3 sides, that is. So yeah, that's basically my idea. I'll try to go much faster with these songs, just because last time I did a song ranking, it was with Trout Mask, and that's like an hour-long video, which I don't know. I'm not trying to break the hour mark, but we'll see what happens. I don't want to leave any Bob Dylan song unturned. To start off with the bottom, though, I will just admit right now, the songs that I basically placed the live stuff at the bottom because I don't really think this stuff was necessary. This could have been a stronger album had he not put live versions of songs that had already been released. I could still enjoy it whenever I'm listening to the album on vinyl, but the tracks I really never go back to listen to on their own. And my reasoning is most evident on number 24, She Belongs to Me. This live rendition of the track really does nothing for me. It definitely feels like a filler track on the album, even more than the instrumentals do, in my opinion. And even if they played it rather straight, it's something I never go out of my way to listen to, when I could just listen to it on Bringing It All Back Home. And yeah, I feel like, it's just whatever. Especially on side 4, it's like side 4 already doesn't have like the best tracks on it. And the fact that it has like 2 live songs together doesn't really help, and especially they're right in the center. So yeah, I think this song, it could have been, I don't know. It would have been cool to see some of the bootleg songs, on the Another Self Portrait bootleg release. See those songs replace the live stuff. Just because I feel like this album wouldn't feel as, sprawling. Of course, that's kind of the intention Bob had. And I guess it makes sense to have some live stuff with his self-portrait. But yeah, live stuff's definitely at the bottom, so hey, agree to disagree. Unless you like the stuff. I mean, there's two songs that I'm pretty sure were not released up until the point, so I do think I give them, higher praise, but She Belongs to Me at the bottom. Number 23, we got Minstrel Boy, a track written during the Basement tapes, and when you compare it to its studio counterparts, I find this version to be more fleshed out and more compelling, especially with the lyrics. It's got a nice slow rhythm to it that's easy to enjoy, and the harmonies that happen in the chorus are pretty fantastic. Probably my favorite part of the entire song. Even if side 4 has these two live tracks on it, I find this one to be more interesting than the last one just because it's new and it actually has a nice performance to it. Definitely, even though it's, yeah, at number 23, definitely one of my favorite of the live performances. Number 22, this one's actually even better, The Mighty Quinn. What makes this track stand out compared to the other Isle of Wight songs is the fact that Dylan's lead vocal is very loud and energetic, which is a quality that a lot of the other tracks on this album don't have, and that I really enjoy, especially when you get into on side 3. This is the first time the song was released officially, as it had been recorded during the Basement tapes. So it's nice that it ain't treading familiar material like, She Belongs to Me or Like a Rolling Stone. The band also sounds fantastic on this track, even if you could hear them flubbing in between vocals. I mean, I'd be fucking up too if I had half or most of the Beatles in the audience. Either way, it's a fun song that I look forward to listening to on the end of side 3, and not a bad guitar solo too, I will say. And yeah, of my favorite live stuff on this album, number 21, Like a Rolling Stone. Now, I know that may come off as a bit hypocritical, putting this at the top and putting She Belongs to Me at the bottom, but I actually really like this version of the track. Obviously, the studio version is the preferred way of listening to the song, but I really like how the band gives it more of a folky country vibe to it, as if it was being released on Nashville Skyline instead of Highway 61 Revisited. This style makes it fit more comfortably with the rest of the material on Self Portrait, which gives it the advantage over She Belongs to Me, which I feel like kind of does feel forced in terms of like songs like Blue Moon or Living the Blues. And plus, it's like a Rolling Stone. I mean, it's a great track regardless. I mean, obviously, it's not like the grandest version you could find live out there, but again, it fits with the rest of the material on here. And I wouldn't go out of my way to listen to this version by itself, but with it being the closer to side 2, it's a nice addition to my favorite side. And if for some reason I didn't want to hear it, I could just, pick up the needle right after Living the Blues was over. So, yeah, number 21, Like a Rolling Stone. And the number 20, now we're getting to the real juice of the album, in my opinion. Though, these next few songs I'm not, like, super crazy about. I could definitely enjoy them on their own to an extent. And number 20 is Wigwam, however you pronounce it. It surprises me that this was the song released as a single for Self Portrait, as it sounds like filler upon first listen. Still, it gained positive reviews and even reached top 10 in many countries. So, damn, Dylan, you know how to write songs, at least 60 songs for sure. Now, it's important to mention that everything ranked from this point forward has a much higher level of enjoyment for me. So, even if this track is at the bottom, I still look forward to it coming on and even listening to it on its own from time to time. This track definitely gets better the more you listen to it, as it does contain a very lovely atmosphere with Bob's la-la vocals, bouncy drums, and the overdubbed horns creating a lush instrumental worth listening to. And yeah, if you aren't a fan of this kind of music coming from Bob Dylan, then I can understand why you would find it to be rubbish. With it also being at the end of side 4, it could be difficult to get through this after sitting through 3 sides of Self Portrait. Though I do think it does have a charm to it. Like, this is one of those songs in most of my videos that I didn't really like getting into it, but as soon as I started re-listening to it for the review, I kind of gained more of appreciation. So yeah, number 20, Wigwam. And then number 19, Alberta number 1. even though I put side one as my second favorite side of music from this album, I do find this to be a bit slow for an opener that consists of Dylan's vocals, of course. I still find enjoyment out of listening to it, but I could understand why this track could have left a bad taste in people's mouths when they first bought this album, and we're excited to see what Bob was doing. I like the progression of the track as well as Dylan's vocals. Um, but there's definitely a lack of energy to it, which makes me put it so low in the ranking. Though it doesn't work that great as an opener, it still does a fair job at introducing the listener to what the rest of the album might sound like to them. And then following that, decided to pair them together. Number 18, Alberta 2. I find this version could have been a better opener, but it also does a fair job at closing the album, kind of like, bookending the album. I agree with others when I say that uh, two versions of Alberta doesn't really feel necessary to the album, even if it works with the Sadie tracks, in my opinion. Still, they do add a conceptual feel to the album, which I think works in its favor, even if the song itself isn't anything crazy good. It's pleasant for sure, but it's nothing I'm like, having the need to really go back to listen to. With that being said, the energy in the drums and overall tempo of version 2 makes it the better of the two Albertas, though I wouldn't say it's much of a highlight on side 4. If anything, it's a decent closer on a decent side of music. And then, yeah, number 17, It Hurts Me Too. This is where things start to really get enjoyable for me, as all of these tracks have something for me to remember and sing to myself whenever I get a piece of this album stuck in my mind. When I first heard this track, it originally, I know it's a Elmore James song, yeah. But the first time I ever heard this song was actually from Grateful Dead's Europe 72. And yeah, I kind of compared this to Pigpen's version. And I love the simplicity of Bob Dylan's version of the track and how it basically sounds like him isolated in the studio just doing his thing. He has a great vocal performance on the song, especially with how he sings some of the lyrics. My favorite lines being like, I don't wanna be your boss, baby. I just wanna be your man. Just little inflections like that, I get a kick out of. The rhythm and lead acoustics are very pleasant to listen to, and combined with Dylan's vocals, gives it a real lonesome folk vibe to it, a vibe that I really admire. So, number 17, It Hurts Me Too. And then number 16, we got Woogie Boogie. Now, I can see why people would also consider this to be another filler instrumental, but for the amount of energy it contains and where it's placed on the album, I feel that it serves as a great interlude between all the amazing tracks on side 2. It's basically just 12-bar blues, but it contains some great piano work and some snappy drums that both build up towards a fantastic saxophone solo, which is something I was not expecting when I first heard this album and this track in particular. And with it only being 2 minutes, I find it to be quite an entertaining listen, as it doesn't overstay its welcome whatsoever. Something that Wigwam could argue overstays its welcome, or feels very, I don't know, not worth the listen. Though I don't want to hate on that song too much. It's pretty good. It's good. I'm not gonna say it's great, but it's good. And then number 15, we got Gotta Travel On. This is another, this is an American folk tune that Bob tears through pretty well. If it had been him performing this song on his own, then it definitely would have been lower in the ranking. But I find that the percussion and the female vocals add a lot to the song's atmosphere. The vocals seem to have a bit of energy to them, but the instruments contain this sense of being laid back and easygoing, which makes for a really fun listen towards the middle of side 3, even if it's a jarring transition to that from Copper Kettle, which I'll get to that song much down the line, much further down. But number 14, call me crazy if you'd like, but I got All the Tired Horses at number 14. I know it's, I guess you could love it or hate it, but I absolutely love this song, especially for what it stands for, in my opinion. Now, when I first heard this album, I first heard of it, I remember reading all the reviews and just like a lot of the background about it, how people hated it, but then over time people loved it. Kind of like Rolling Stone's Satanic Majesty's Request, you know? It was kind of bombed when it first came out, but this probably got way worse reviews than that other album did. And I remember hearing about how, like, oh, Bob's not even trying, he sounds out of tune, his guitar's out of tune, and I was like, okay, I can't wait to hear what this album's all about. And when I frickin' play the song to start the album off, I just couldn't tell you. I wish I could show you my face when I first reacted to that song. It's just hilarious. It's very jarring. It's just a big like middle finger to the audience, which I kind of appreciate. You know, he clearly was making this album as a joke, and he knew that like having this album, having the song open the album would like confuse the listener so much that it would make everything that follows maybe not as crazy sounding. I don't know. That's how I interpreted it, because like I don't know. I do love this song a lot. Like, I couldn't find a reason to place it any higher than it already is, but I love what this song is all about. And in my opinion, probably one of the funniest album openers I've ever talked about on my channel so far. This is also a great warm-up song to play. I know when I jam with people, it's a fun song to play just because it's 4 chords. Kind of do whatever you want. You could try hitting the notes if you got that, I don't want to say falsetto, but that, you know, high-reaching voice, you know. And yeah, it's just a fun song, you know. I love the strings. Everything about it is so majestic and beautiful. Though it doesn't seem fitting on a Bob Dylan record, it works in the sense of like, okay, I'm trying to make a crap load of music that I guess will sound like crap to an audience. But it ain't crap, Bob. This shit's alright. Alright. After that, these next 13 songs are basically halfway through the album. These 13 songs are all bangers in my opinion, especially all the Tired Horses, and even the songs few before, but, you know, clearly only gets better the further I go into it. Number 13, we got Early Morning Rain. One of the many highlights on side 1, this track provides a warm, lush atmosphere through Dylan's gruff yet gentle vocals over a beautiful chord progression originally written by Gordon Lightfoot. I can understand why people would check out after the first 3 songs, or first 4 songs on side 1, but I think the track lowers that sense of absurdism. Oh yeah, this track lowers the sense of absurdism that the tracks before it have, if that makes sense. You know, it kind of feels like, okay, this isn't too wild. This doesn't feel like a joke, I suppose. The pleasant atmosphere I mentioned is also derived from those sweet nylon strings playing in the background, as well as that lovely harmonica provided by Bob, I assume. And I know a lot of people will have this song higher up. It's just, you know, at this point, it's so tough. Like, all these songs from this point forward, I really, you know, I have bias towards certain songs I first heard, and some songs grew on me more later on down the road. But this song, great tune, great tune. And then number 12, we got Take Me As I Am or Let Me Go. Now, this is one of the first of many great country tunes on this album. Everything about this track is just so awesome. So having it at 12 just goes to show how much I enjoy this album. The slow and ponderous tempo helps emphasize the vocal melody Bob sings super well. The steel and acoustic guitar add such a vibrant touch to the track's sunny vibe. The piano and female backing vocals also help carry this atmosphere, or the overall magic of the song, you know. Maybe I'm just a big fan of country Bob Dylan, but I've always been fascinated by this side of him, and I find this track to be a great closer for side 3. Especially with the Mighty Quinn. You know, I feel like kind of the Mighty Quinn, you get there, it's like, okay, nice little live thing. And this kind of takes you back to the, I don't know, it's got like a home vibe to it, you know, just at home. You're at Bob's home, just letting him be himself, you know, letting him play his country tunes, his basement tunes, all that jazz, you know. So yeah, number 12, Take Me As I Am or Let Me Go. Number 11, we got Livin' the Blues. One of the few originals by Bob on this record. This has such a fun, jaunty sound to it. And it really sounds like it could have been off Nashville Skyline, though the production on this album, in my opinion, sounds a little better. I'm sorry, I'm losing my train of thought here. kind of surrounds the listener more, in my opinion. I feel like Nashville Skyline does sound a bit flat, though it is a better album for sure in terms of like song. I mean, it's like an hour shorter than this album. I could be wrong, but that's a short record. Anywho, Living the Blues has a delightful progression to it with those drums and guitars adding a mild sense of energy to the song, which only strengthens its main melody. Very fitting amongst all the other tracks, all the other great tracks on side 2. So it barely misses my top 10. It's still a fantastic track that gets stuck in my head often. And now we're at the top 10. I mean, the top 6 really, for me, where it gets tough, but the top 10 is like the songs I definitely recommend checking out from this album, rather than maybe starting from beginning to end. I just wanted a taste of this record. Check out these 10 songs. So, number 10, a lot of people hate the song, but I really enjoy it for how absurd it is. But In Search of Little Sadie at number 10. This is a track that I could totally see why people would hate on. And if anything, it feels like the most hateable track on the album. But I still love it for how against the grain it is and how there wasn't any fucks given when recording or releasing this track. Or at least, that's how it appears to me, I love how it seems to constantly change keys without warning or without any interest in what the listener would like to hear. Bob sounds like he's having a great time, though, making this traditional his own with vocals that sound loud and almost intoxicated at times, while the band tries their best to keep up with him. It may be a divisive song on Self-Portrait, but I honestly love it and find it to be a perfect closer to side 1, especially for all those diehard Dylan fans at the time who were probably like, what the hell, the famous quote, what is this shit? I didn't tell myself that when I first heard it. Maybe off All the Tired Horses, but I probably just murmured that to myself, Number 9. For number 9, we got Days of 49. This is another great highlight on side 1, with it also being the longest song on the entire album. I'm pretty sure that or Like a Rolling Stone. It's like somewhere over 5 minutes. Comparing it to the rest of the material, it definitely has a darker edge to it. Perhaps it's that use of the A minor chord, as well as the lyrics being about the original 49ers. Speaking of Niners real quick, that game sucked. I can't believe the Niners lost. Disappointing. Not surprised though. Anywho, Days of 49. There's not much that changes with the overall progression, but the way Bob delivers the phrase repeated, like, in the days of 49, are all enjoyable, even if it's like maybe a step behind or he's like, I don't know. I don't want to say he's like off key or anything, because I think he sounds good. It sounds like he's having fun with it. The mood that the music provides, though, never falls short, in my opinion, as the drums and piano do a great job adding little fills and riffs to the overall progression. Kind of wish I had a little more to say about it, because I do really like this song, other than the fact that I like singing to this song, but it's just a good song to play on. It's just, I love the performance of it. Most I could really say about it. Ooh, excuse me. Number 8, though, it's currently playing Little Sadie. One of the first songs that I fell in love with on this album. Though it's super short, I find it to be super catchy and a very upbeat listen. Obviously, the lyrics are a bit dark about killing Little Sadie and going to jail for it. But with how simple the guitar chords are, and how fast the tempo is, it's not really hard to bop your head to, in my opinion. It's a cute little ditty. The vocal delivery is what makes the song catchy, in my opinion, and the musical breaks that happen during the 4th line gives the track enough flair to be more than just a filler tune in my eyes. So yeah, number 8, Little Sadie. And then number 7, the best song on side 4, Take a Message to Mary. Though I wish it hadn't been the opener, since everything that follows is not as good in my opinion. It's just one of my favorite songs on the album. It's just super upbeat, super nice. One of my favorite songs on this album to play guitar to. Just such a simple yet wonderful chord progression that always gets me moving or singing along to. Perhaps I could do without the track's intro, but that doesn't lower the song's likability whatsoever. Again, it sounds like something off of Nashville Skyline, but with better production and with those pleasant female vocals backing them up very well. Though I could see why that and the strings on this album would make people despise this album, I don't know. I can get past it. I mean, it feels genuine. It doesn't feel like as crazy as that one Bob Dylan album. I forgot what it's called. The one's like 1973, I think, where it's like his record company released it, but he didn't even want to release. That seems forced. Like the kind of overdubs and all that seem kind of tacky and, you know, not genuine. As for here, it all seems really nice, you know. There's no strings on this track. I'm just referring to the strings on the entire album. But yeah, number 6. Oh, we're at the top 6, baby. This gets really good here. I Forgot More Than You'll Ever Know. This is definitely one of the songs I've been repeating the most lately. It's just such a, I don't know, everything about it is just so beautiful. The steel guitar adds a tremendous amount to the track's sunset vibe, which is something I kind of like, a phrase I usually use for like, okay, like listen to the sunset, whether you be buzzing or smoking, just like enjoying the warmth of the fresh air and all that shite. But it's just like a very fitting piece of music to go along with the sunset vibe, you know, just pondering about life and all that. It's got such a powerfully gloomy atmosphere to it, thanks to the female vocals and gentle piano work. Even Dylan's vocal performance is stunning, adding that slight sense of emotion to an otherwise heart-wrenching track. I understand if Country Dylan isn't everyone's favorite aspect of him, but it's definitely one of my favorites, and this perfectly displays the atmosphere he can create when playing this kind of music. It's just simply serene. I only wish it wasn't so short, but it works in its favor since it just leaves me to replay the song, you know? So for only being 2 minutes and 30 seconds, it does a perfect amount for that perfect time. And number 5, Blue Moon. Another beautiful ballad by Dylan and company. All the vocals and instruments do a splendid job at creating a scenic music environment that's very easygoing and not and hard to not be moved by. What really makes this track stand out from the others is the use of the violin during the middle section and outro. Just a great inclusion to a track that could have gone without it and still probably would have been this high on my list. Definitely one of my favorite chord progressions on the entire album, especially with how it changes up on the bridge, but still resolves on the main key very effortlessly. This track creates some of the best vibes that Self Portrait has to offer. Even if you were fooled to listen to the song, not knowing it was Bob Dylan or something, you could still get enjoyment. I don't know. I think I could, or at least to my Bob Dylan haters, be playing this in the background. They're like, "Who is this?" I'm like, "Gotcha." It's Self Portrait, and then just tears instantly. All right, I told you we get to the song, but here we are. Number 4, we got Copper Kettle. Easily one of the best songs on the entire album, as it features the best vocal performance by Dylan on the entire record. The way he pours his vocals out like a glass of whiskey is just phenomenal. The strings only enhance this feeling of struggle and pain as they build up and around Dylan's vocals so beautifully. And I'm glad to see this track get some attention from Dylan fans, despite it being from Self Portrait, because this definitely stands out above the rest when you compare it to stuff like Little Sadie or Boogie Woogie. Just a gorgeous song that I love to listen to while getting baked beneath the setting sun. Again, very much a sunset vibe to it. And he even drinks some booze too, especially with that quote I really love. It's, "We ain't paid no whiskey tax since 1792. Not to say he sings it like that, but just to crack my voice for the hell of it. And yeah, Copper Kettle, I mean, it really gets tough with these like top songs, like why they're my favorite, just because it's like, oh, they do everything so well. But my top three. And number 3, we got Let It Be Me. One of the most pleasing tracks to come out of Self Portrait, as it always fills me up with warmth and satisfaction. Again, everything about this track just works in its favor. Dylan's soothing voice works perfectly with the lyrics, and the drums do a fantastic job at keeping the beat while playing some nice fills at the right time. The piano once again does a great job at providing a tender side to the rendition of this pop French tune made popular by the Everly Brothers. And again, it's really hard to add much more of how I feel about it, other than being like one of a really perfect song in my eyes. Just really nice and pleasant. It seems genuine with I don't know, Dylan's vocal performance. And yeah, just a banger of a track. Whoa, a banger. But now we're at the top two. So number two, Call Me Crazy. But I got The Boxer at number two. This cover of a Simon and Garfunkel classic does a great job at capturing what this album is all about, in my opinion. It's one of those tracks that allows its flaws to be shown, but that doesn't stop it from being such a gorgeous yet personal sounding track. I absolutely love how Dylan's vocals, or Dylan is double tracking the vocals, with the lead sounding like country Dylan, and the second, I guess, vocal track, sounding like he's coming from Blonde on Blonde. Maybe there's not enough to this track to put it so high, but I find this rendition of it to be catchy and far from the original, which is also a great version. I'm not gonna cap on the original. I mean, maybe the Simon and Garfunkel version of their own song does drag out longer than it should be, but with this one, it kind of really just strips it of its like strings and bombastic progression. It kind of just shows you what a catchy and nice song it is, you know. And I guess one of my favorite moments in the song is where like you hear country Dylan say like la la la, and he's like la 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 on the other side with the second vocals. Definitely something that's very amusing in my eyes, and call me crazy for putting this track up so high, but I really do get a kick out of it. It was one of the first songs that I checked out because, you know, I was like, oh, I know this song, The Boxer. And then, yeah, definitely, I don't want to say sweep me off my feet, but definitely made me sit down and think about it, you know, big thinker mode. And finally, we're at number one. Now, this is the toughest one because I couldn't really think of, like, really nice ways to elaborate on number one. But number one is Belle Isle. Now, everything about the song is just so pleasant and beautiful. And trust me, I hate to keep using the same words and phrases for my favorite tracks on here, but again, this is my favorite. This does everything so well, in my opinion. Just the strings, the romantic poetry. From what I'm aware of, this is a traditional rearranged by Bob Dylan, so I really like how he approaches it. It's got a beautiful chord progression. Definitely, maybe it's because this is a song I like to play at open mics whenever I go to them. Maybe it's just got that bias on me. It's a song that fits in my vocal range, and I love singing along to. Just everything about it is just so wonderful, and I really, again, like The Boxer or like Copper Kettle, really just I don't know, accompanies, trying to think of the right word, I'm flubbing here, really defines what this record is about, you know, encapsulates all the flaws and deliberate or non-deliberate attempts at these songs, but it's just beautiful. Belle Isle, classic in my eyes, absolute banger of a track. Wowie zowie. Now that we've gone this far, I'll show off the record a little. This is just a nice reissue I got from a record store. Nothing much to it. Can't really tell there, but in some of the photos, he's wearing a white button-up. That's why I decided to wear one for this video. To be looking hip. Yeah, here he is there. Just, you know, big chillin'. I'll write photo. I'm pretty sure, I could be wrong, wouldn't be surprised if that's the same jacket he's worn on like 3 albums in a row. It's got all the songs, I think it's got all the people listed here. I'll go ahead and show off the record too. I got side 3 and side 4 out and about. Sounds beautiful in my opinion. It's just like some recent pressing you can find online. Good stuff, you know. And then, yeah, it also comes with this nice little booklet. I'll show if I can get this thing in. Yep. Kind of already opened it up just so I could skip the struggle. Got a nice little snapshot, which is also, you know, on the back. Got, you know, advertisements for other stuff, and then inside it's got some information about the album. It's got everyone listed, like engineers, players of certain songs, which is kind of cool. Oh, super cool. What else? It's got on the bottom. It's kind of They got some facts about 1970, what was happening around that time. Some are pretty sad. Obviously, like the Kent State University shooting. Apparently, Elvis trying to talk to Nixon about being a federal agent at large for drugs and whatnot. Janis Joplin dying. You know, kind of says a lot about the year, though. Doesn't really relate to the portrait of himself. And yeah, that was it, guys. Self-portrait. I'm so glad I got through this. I feel like this is definitely an album that probably won't do amazing, but I'm glad it's my first Bob Dylan album to talk about. I definitely want to get to more. I'll be honest, I originally wanted to do the ranking of the Basement Tapes first, the original 1975 release, but that album's tough to really rank the songs because they're all good, but they all kind of have a similar sound, and I feel like it's hard to differentiate or use different phrases. As for this album, is like clearly there's songs like Wigwam, All the Tired Horses, Belle Isle, Copper Kettle, like they all have something else they're going for. So I decided to do this one first, but in time I will definitely get to the Basement Tapes. And one thing I'll add too, when I do these song rankings, usually I want to do them for double albums, but I've realized now I only want to do albums that have over 20 songs. If it has that many songs on it, then I feel like it's appropriate to rank the songs rather than go from side 1 all the way to side 4. I feel like that could get a bit boring for me at least. And yeah, I don't know. I do know actually, and I know I had fun doing this video, and I hope you guys had fun. I appreciate you still watching if you're still watching. And be on the lookout for the next video because I have some stuff cooking up. You know, let me cook and I'll cook, you know. But yeah, until the next video, I will see you guys till then around. Alright, have a good one. Bye.